Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to panel number 3. This year, for Black History Month, S.A.C is celebrating the future of Black music in Canada, and we are so excited to bring forth Canadian artists from all over the country. Before we begin, I'm going to do a land acknowledgement for the Indigenous peoples of Takaranto. The land we're standing on today is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse nations, Inuit and Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13, signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit, and the Williams Treaty signed with multiple Mississaugas of Chippewa bands. Today's focus is the Black alternative, artistic expression, and the songwriting process. Today's guest is Sasha Williamson, vocalist and songwriter Sasha Williamson. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. This is really an honor, so thank you so much.
I'm so excited too. Although Black music lends itself to multiple genres we've all grown to enjoy, the genre, formerly known as urban, isn't the only instance you'll hear and feel Black voices. Let's sit down and talk to Black artists and unpack artistic expression and the songwriting process in an alternative way. Songwriters Association of Canada will be celebrating 40 years next year. S.A.C strives to nurture, develop, and protect the creative, business, and legal interests of music creators in Canada and globally. 3 of the most important tenets representing S.A.C's work are education, advocacy, and community. We'll be focusing on these throughout this year's panel, especially today's panel, and we want to ensure that these messages are clearly delivered in our conversation. Thank you so much for being here today. Let's begin. Welcome, Sasha. Welcome, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing really well, thank you. Thank you
Wonderful,
so much.
wonderful, wonderful. You know, I can tell everyone who you are because I love your music, but I want you to introduce yourself. Okay.
First of all, thank you for loving my music and supporting my music. It makes me think about how much how much your music can get out there without even knowing, and who it's reaching. You may never know. You and I have never met. But it's really awesome to hear that, you support it. So I'm so thankful for that. So my name is Sasha Williamson. I am a singer. I'm a songwriter. I am an artist. I'm an educator. I'm a lot of different things. I'm an intuitive. I'm all these things. But I have been singing and writing for a really long time. I was one of those kids that kind of came out of the womb singing. And luckily, I was supported by my parents, specifically my mom, throughout my whole career, taking me to gigs when I was like 6 years old, just driving all the way to Sudbury and all kinds of different places so that I could perform. So it's a love of mine. It's a passion of mine. It is a purpose of mine. Yeah, and I'm in a few different genres. I'm very known for house music. I do a lot of house music, but I also do like down tempo soul and jazz, and I'm just kind of, I like to be versatile, and I think Black music in general is very versatile, and it has such a wide array of genres within that huge genre. There's all these different subgenres, and I'm just happy to participate in as many as I can. I feel quite limitless when it comes to that. So I'm always interested in trying more and exploring new creative avenues. Yeah. Yeah.
Wonderful. When you're talking about all the different avenues that you've kind of delved into creatively, what I want to talk to you about is like, how has managing, I guess, working in different areas, how challenging has it been, and how rewarding has it been? Because I know with COVID, lockdown, quarantine, like everything that's happened, artists in general, you know, they struggled because pretty much the entertainment scene was null for the last 2+ years. So I want us to look at what it was like prior to and also post COVID for someone like yourself, because I really want to focus on Black female artists or Black artists. What's the challenge before now and what's the challenge right now?
Well, I think it's such a good question. I think one of the challenges for Black artists and Black female artists is there is such a tendency to marginalize us in terms of where we belong within the industry. And there's an ideology that we're only able to do one specific thing, one specific genre, and one specific style. And I think it's easy to fall into that kind of uh, pre pre um, pre-existing notion of like what we are to be. But I think that one thing that I've learned is that throughout my own personal journey, I did feel the pressure early on to become the R&B singer, this and that, and I just wasn't just that. So what I learned is that when you stand in your passion and your purpose, when you stand in what it is you are here to give, regardless of the genre, but when you stand in it and it's the truth for you, then it becomes more acceptable for everyone else because it really starts with you accepting all that you are and whatever creative stream that is for you. If your conviction is so strong in it, then everyone else kind of follows suit. They just sort of listen and kind of get it and then hop along, and those that don't, then they don't. But what I find more often than not is this: you're convinced about what it is you're here to do, then the world is convinced. And so I stopped trying to fit into a specific genre and I just did what came through me. So what I found, before, pre-COVID, is because of that, it opened up so many different doors for me. Some people knew me for house, so I would get, um, you know, phone calls and messages from producers, mainly in Europe, South Africa, so like Sweden, England. Those are more of my connections in terms of the producers that I have mostly worked with. And I'd get calls to do specific kinds of songs, and then one person heard that I did a spoken word piece with another uh, really amazing broken beat artist named IG Culture. They had heard that piece and they said, "Hey, would you be interested in doing a spoken word piece for my album?" So it's sort of like, because I already had gone in there knowing that I can do spoken word, I can do this, I can do that, and I've done it. It sort of let the world sort of open up to all of those parts of me, and sort of, you know, I kind of drew it to myself, really, those opportunities, which was great. And so uh, before COVID, I was actually pregnant in 2019, and I had done a lot of gigs that year. I was doing gigs with, my really good friend from LA, Dame Funk, who is like a funk master. He is incredible, and he asked me to open for him for a show he was doing in Toronto, and I got to do that. And then I was called to do a party for Sting. He was doing a closing night of the play that he was a part of, and I was asked to do that party. So, which I thought was really cool. Like this baby that hadn't come yet was already immersed in all kinds of music. Like I was singing for
Wow.
Sting, and I was singing like soul and jazz, and then I was, you know, going and doing funk with Dame Funk. And then I was away for a jazz festival in the Bahamas while I was pregnant in 2019 for a week. So I was doing a lot. Like it was just all over the place, and it was available to me. But I had already set my own precedent of I can do anything.
Mhm,
So then
mhm.
it became a thing of, you can call her for that. She knows that. You can call her for that. She knows that. And
Right.
it all came to me. Then COVID hits and
Yeah.
everything's like just dormant, but I want to say that for a lot of the creators that I know and that I have worked with, we created a lot
Yeah.
over the span of this 2 years. We created a lot. It kind of forced us to sharpen some skills,
Mhm.
uh, explore new ones, and really sit and create. And so that was one of the gifts, I would say, that came out of that time. Not having gigs was not a gift. Not having gigs was not a gift, but being able to create
Mhm.
within that time and having that space and time to do that was amazing. And I had a little baby, but I was still creating all the time, like creating. And I joined this app called Voicey, where you work with other producers and you can create
Mhm.
music with them. And I loved it. I was making voices every day, and some that I will probably release, within the year in an EP. But yeah, I made great music and
Mhm.
got to write about my journey, the new journey, being a mom. So yeah, I think we got some good things out of it, but it was not easy to not have the gigs, but it was a gift to be able to create. Yeah.
Right, right.
And I
And
think it also made us feel more open to being anything we are. Because I felt like people, when I talk to other creators, they have branched out into other things that they didn't know that they could do. And I
right,
think that that was also the gift of this past
yeah.
couple years, too. Yeah.
I think that's a very positive, um, a positive perspective to take when you're looking at creativity because, there is burnout when it comes to creating, and to explain it this way is actually really, really good. I think a lot of artists are looking for inspiration, and what you said here today, it's very, very good, very inspiring.
That's great. I'm happy to do that and happy to inspire. It was my truth. It was what I got to live throughout this past couple years. But
Yeah,
if there is one thing I would say to any creator out there, be true to what comes through you. Be true to it, own it, love it, marry it, be convicted in it,
mhm,
and others will follow.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Tush, we interviewed with Tush yesterday,
Oh,
and she
nice.
said the same thing. She said like it's almost like identical. She was like, just stand in it, and that's really important.
Yeah,
Uh,
she's one of the creators that I have connected with over the last while. And yeah, she gets it. She totally gets it. She stands in it, which is
yeah,
wonderful. I
she
love
does.
her.
Yeah, no, she said the same about you.
Did
That's
she?
awesome. Yeah. Um, so you mentioned you're an educator. Please
Yes.
explain.
Yeah, so I ended up being offered a position at my alma mater, York University. And when I first got offered the position, I was like, no, thank you. I am not a teacher. I'm a singer. I'm a performer. I am not a teacher, but thanks. And then my parents were like, call them back. You're gonna
Okay,
call them back. My
yeah,
very Caribbean parents were like, "You're gonna call them back." So I
yeah.
called them back, and the rest is history. And it actually ended up being a really great experience for me. It has been a really great experience for me in that it's well, it's taught me that I have a lot more skills than I thought I had, right?
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
it's made me a better piano player too because I have to play a lot for the students, and
Yes.
so that has been really great. And also it's just yeah, it's had me reach deep into places where I, like these reserves in me to always, be on and, and be someone who can problem solve and give solutions. I mean, a lot of students are afraid of jazz, so
Mhm.
they come in very scared, and I've learned ways to really make it not so scary for them. Um, and it's shown me that I have a real natural ability to help people understand in a gentle way. So that's been really great. And then I also am a prof at Centennial College. I do
Yeah.
a pop music course there. I was teaching a cappella ensemble there, which was like my favorite course ever. So good, so good. Um, and like the students that I would have were so amazing and interesting and limitless. And so that was a really great experience for me too. And I still teach there as well. And some of the students that I've had at Centennial and at York, I've also had as backup vocalists for shows that I've done. So I've had them come and do show with me at Young and Dundas Square and Hughes Room. And when I can see that they're, on a certain level,
Yeah.
yeah. And then it's like, they're all terrified to do backups for me because they're like, we can't mess up on Sasha's song. We cannot mess up. They're terrified. So they come really prepared, which
Yeah.
is really great. Like I don't want people to be terrified, but I
Right.
mean, they used it to their benefit and they've done an amazing job whenever I've asked them for their assistance with gigs and stuff. And it's been a great experience for them too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they've been terrified. They're like, "Really? You wanna ask me to do that?" I'm like, "Yeah, because I know you." One time I had a few students from York sing backgrounds for me when we had the now friend of mine from the States, Josh Milan. He's an amazing
Yeah, I know
house
that.
artist. Yeah, so we invited him to come do a show. So we did a show together here, and they were like freaking out, but they did an amazing job, and they had to sing backups for my tunes and his tunes.
Yeah,
And
Josh has an amazing voice, amazing
amazing.
vocal range. Yeah.
Amazing. He's such a beautiful creative and really down to earth, amazing guy, who I still keep in touch with. And I think that that was a really great experience for them as well. They'll never forget that. That's for sure. But yeah, those the teaching has taught me. Uh, I mean, I'm learning on the spot
Mhm.
with students, Sometimes they'll ask me things that I've never thought of before, but right in that moment, somehow in the vestiges of my being, there is an answer for that, and I'm learning on the spot too. So that's also a wonderful experience. And I'm one of those teachers where I don't always have like this full plan before going into class. I
Right.
have I have a outline and then it's just like, let's free flow this and see where
Yeah.
we're supposed to go with this. What is
Right.
it that you're going to be needing today? And that's sort of how I teach. Yeah. And I teach individually, like, who are you as an individual? All the students are not the same. So I
Right.
really take into consideration who it is that I'm, teaching. But
So,
it's a great experience.
so on the topic of education teaching, um, because S.A.C does camps across the country,
Oh,
um,
wow.
songwriting camps. They have mentorship, co-writing mentorship camps, and songwriting camps, and
Love it.
there's collaboration between selected or hand-selected S.A.C members. And
Awesome.
that's happening Vancouver, Montreal, or Toronto, all throughout
Beautiful.
the year. So there's a specific way that things are taught or mentored in those camps. And I don't know exactly what the event coordinators are looking for specific, but
Hmm.
whoever comes through there has to have some level, like you're saying, like a kind of level where you can develop and grow
That's
over time,
right.
right?
Key.
So for yourself now as an educator, is there anything that you're seeing, let's say in the last 4 or 5 years, that you're seeing in students that maybe is signifying like a sign of the times when it comes to creativity or musicality? Is there anything you're seeing with students?
That's such a great question. So one of the things I do with all of my students in the jazz as well as the pop, um, as I facilitate songwriting for them as well. Um, and what is amazing, I would say specifically about the college students that I'm connecting with, is that they are so amazingly tech savvy. So they're using Logic to, record vocals and instruments and beats. That is something that I've seen in the last 5 years, that it's like they're really learning how to be everything that they need. So they're learning to be the producer, they're learning to be the writer, they're learning to be the arranger. Um, they're learning everything, and then they're self-teaching. So they're self-teaching on, instruments, whether that be keyboard, guitar. They're definitely doing drum programming. So I'm seeing that they're learning. A technology has really given them an avenue to be as creative as they possibly can, and which has been really great for me as an educator too, because then I have really no limits with them when we're doing songwriting assignments. Um,
Yes.
they really can do it all, and when they're a little bit afraid, then I just give a little guidance with that. But that's something that I have seen, that technology has become a part of the songwriting process, and uh, self-teaching has become a part of the process in terms of instruments. And there's a lot more confidence there than there would have been, I would say, before
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Wow. That's I think this piece of info is excellent for for example, I'm just making a little segue. On average, we get quite a few messages on a weekly basis from uh, young people who are interested in music and they want
Hmm.
to delve into that as a career. And most of the time, they're just asking, like, what do I do? Where should I go? How should I go about this? So when you're mentioning these things, it's kind of like giving a bit of direction as to like where they can look, especially if they already have skills that they can use without having to go to school just yet. So I think this is very good information.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think these are the things, like you said, if they're, even if they're not going to do the school route for music, these are the things that they can start doing.
Mm.
You can, acquire a program that helps you produce music. You can, learn. I mean, a lot of my students are learning on YouTube how to, play chords and things like that. They're doing
It's such
that.
a different time. Such a different time
Different
now.
time. It's so
Yeah,
great. So great. It's limitless. It's
yeah,
limitless. And like, what an empowering feeling to be a creative and go, wow, I'm limitless. I can actually do everything.
yes,
That's
yeah,
amazing for females, especially, and males. Like, I can do everything. I
yeah,
mean, my female students, I always make sure that they understand that, like, you're gonna get your hand in everything. You're gonna get your hand in the writing. You're gonna get your hand in the music production of things. You're gonna do it all. And then they come up with these amazing creative tunes that you're just like, look at that. That needs to be on an EP or an album. Like, this is great. So yeah, different times, but amazing times.
nice, nice, nice. So, I was perusing online a little bit, and when you get to YouTube, you start digging through the rabbit hole kind of thing. And I saw some video footage of you. One was at a swanky hotel downtown. It's
Yes.
I know the name, not the Carlu, not
Continental,
I
intercontinental.
yes, that's what it was. I saw
Yeah.
Intercontinental and I thought, wow, is this something that you do often, which is like lounge type singing at
Yeah.
venues or
You know what? It's usually for an event. So that was for a film festival. That was during Toronto Film Festival. So usually it's more for those kinds of events. So
okay.
yeah, which is great because then you never know who's in your audience. Like we had like Pierce Brosnan and this other amazing British actress, I can't remember, and they were so sweet. And really was, digging the music, and one got my EP, which was awesome too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love doing events like that because you just don't know who you're gonna meet, you know?
Opportunity floating
Yeah.
around. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
And so I also saw a performance with you with a quartet, uh,
Right.
and you were doing spoken word.
Right.
And I was like, now this right here is why songwriting is so important, because it can switch. It can be multi-genre usage. I'll call it multi-genre usage, right?
Love it.
So,
Love the term. Love
yeah.
it. Yeah.
So, you were doing spoken word, and I thought, oh, I've never heard your voice this way, but it's really good because you can sing it too.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, I think especially if, if your words are poignant enough and, you know, it really is about delivery too. So, what's your message? How do you deliver it? You know,
Mhm.
but I've always been a fan of spoken word, and I've done a few pieces, with you know producers. Um, I've done them on my own, but I've also had producers go, "Ooh, need that on a track, need that on a track." So it's a really cool experience, and the show, the clip that you saw, I think was, I was doing a show at a theater. It was a solo show at a theater.
Yes, it was
um
a theater. Yeah, I did see
yeah,
that.
yeah, that was just before, I think that was just before I got pregnant, and I was doing spoken word, and my drummer was playing like in a broken beat kind of vibe, so it was a nice mix of genres too. There's spoken word, there's broken beat, and then I had trumpet later on, and like a full jazz soul, like broken beat vibe. Yeah,
Mhm, mhm.
I love mixing genres. I love
Yes,
doing that.
I like that
um,
you said that. I like that you said that.
yeah, I love it. And it's, some things are just at home with each other. Jazz is at home with broken beat. The spoken word is at home with jazz. They're all related. Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you got to see that. Yeah.
Oh, it was really, really good.
Thank you.
So let's talk a little bit about the underground,
Sure.
because I that's the area I guess I can say I kind of morphed into, because I started working in hip hop, doing media work, writing, radio station type stuff. And I DJ'd for a little bit in
Oh,
Japan. And
wow.
then when I came back to Toronto, I'm like, okay, I don't think I want to DJ in Japan. But because I was a part of that world when I was in Japan, I want to be able to build media around the underground. So
Awesome.
things like talking to artists like I'm speaking to you now, for me, I get to speak with artists and I understand more because I understand what happens behind it all.
Yeah. Right.
When I mention something like underground to maybe someone who's used to performance, or I'll say a classic singer songwriter performance on stage, maybe with a band, maybe not with a band. For them, they think underground is specifically exclusive to DJing.
Yeah, it's true.
But like I mentioned this yesterday with Tush, uh, our event coordinators for our songwriting camps, they nurture talent coming into the camps for everything. But this past camp they did in December, they worked with a company Reliant, who does a lot of top line dance music. And one of the things, his name's Bobby, Bobby mentioned in the conversation was that Canadian songwriters and vocalists dominate um, underground dance, the underground dance genre overseas.
100%.
And I said, I'm not surprised, because we don't have that much here that we can say it's growing, it's building, it's dominating, but you can see those credits overseas, like in Europe. And he was like, we need to keep everyone here. And I said, yeah, I know, but we're talking about it right now. So when
Hmm.
it comes to that area of the business, um, what do you think about songwriting, being a vocalist, working with underground producers? How do you feel about that, not being able to make it in Canada? or not being able to have a viable career in Canada if you are pursuing that genre?
Oh, what a question you have
It's
asked.
no, it's a big deal because people think it's just DJing, but it's not. Like the
No,
vocalists are usually Black female vocalists or
100%.
powerhouse vocalists.
Yes.
So
Yes.
how do we like I want to ask you like what's your experience? What do you feel about that?
Yeah.
How do you think we can change that in Canada? Anything, just speak on it.
Well, let's see. I think that here's what I know. When it comes to there's so many different genres within this underground music world. But if we're going to talk about electronic music, let's just say dance, house, what have you. Dance music in Canada is predominantly run, I would say, um, by, non-minorities. Okay. So we're a little bit invisible here for that. I mean, we're used for some dance music here, but we're a little bit invisible here. So, what you'll find in Europe, for instance, is that they like it's a huge dance music industry, but they also like things soulful. And here, dance music doesn't need to be soulful. Okay, so y- I think I think us as like Tush, like myself, we get sought after, overseas because they recognize that we are soulful with our dance music. We are soulful with it, and they prefer that. They have like the hardcore techie, doesn't need any soul. They have that whole sort of following there too. But because it's so vast, I mean, their numbers in Europe are so much bigger than ours. You'll have pockets for everybody. So you have the crowd that wants the soulful dance music, and the soulful house music and the soulful just electronic music in general. You'll have so many of them there because there's just so many people, and they've always liked things a little more soulful. I mean, when you go to England, I remember being there for a couple months, connecting with some producers, and I remember just going into like what we would call our Shoppers Drug Mart, and they were playing such soulful music just on the speakers. It was like I was hearing Omar, who's from the UK and is a
Yeah,
beautiful soul singer. I was hearing like really good soulful stuff. I was like, this is not what I hear in a regular like shoppers back home.
yeah,
So they have a different sensibility and a different taste, and they also have um, the infrastructure. They have the financial backing. They have the money to put behind it, and they
mhm,
will put their money there.
yeah,
Um, it's the same in South Africa. South Africa is a huge market for specifically house music. I mean, you're sponsored by companies like BMW and like huge, huge money to be made when it comes to house music
yeah,
in South Africa. There are some American artists who have kind of traveled over to South Africa. One, namely, I can think of a really great singer, Monique Bingham, great
yeah,
writer.
right,
She's just like that's her home, and
yeah,
she's well taken care of out there.
yeah,
She's from the States. So there are places where they're willing to, they have an infrastructure, they have radio, they have labels, they have an infrastructure, and they're willing to put their money into it. We don't have that here in Canada. We
right,
just don't. And I think there might have been a time where they had a bit of that, um, before my time, maybe, but they don't have that. And that's part of the problem. That's why we're always exporting our goods,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
right? You know?
yes, yes,
So that's the main problem. And then I would also say that, we also Europe is, there's a very interesting history with Black female artists and Europe. A lot of great American artists went to, like, let's say France or places where they felt more welcomed and taken care of, and financially too. Now that may have come with some, you know fetishes and stuff, but it also came with a livelihood being, more lucrative. And
Right.
I think that still exists
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we just don't have that history here. Um, so I think that's part of the thing.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then also, Europe's older. They've been doing this stuff for so long, and they have like well studied producers. And I don't mean studied in the school sense, although a lot of these producers and musicians have gone to school for music. But beyond that, they know music. They know, they're crate diggers. They know so much about Black music specifically, and
Yeah.
they have done a great research about it, and there's such a great respect for it. Now there's so many sides to things, because there's also the side where we respect it, we enjoy it, but then we also kind of run away with it. But then there's also that we respect it, we enjoy it, we would like to employ you in this with us. So there
Yes.
is that too, right?
Right. Right.
We just
Right.
don't
Right.
have that here.
Yeah. No, I noticed like I went to Amsterdam dance event
Mm,
twice, 2017, 2018. Both times I noticed that Canadians travel alone. I saw groups of they could be label heads with their whole roster, radio station staff teams, artists that are on the same label traveling together. But every Canadian I met from across the country was going to conferences, parties, events alone.
yes.
And when you talk to them, they're like, oh, I own a label, I'm from Halifax. And I'm like, wow, okay. So I feel like we
Yeah,
need more community across the board,
a
not
hundred percent.
just with Black artists, but just everyone in their genres to
Yes.
connect at every level so that now you have like a stream of people to work with.
That's correct. You are
Right.
so right on the money with that. I mean, it makes me think about years ago when I went to the Miami Music Conference, that winter music conference they would do, and that I met up with people that I'd already networked with, but I also met so many other. That's actually where I met Dame Funk, that beautiful funk producer from LA. I met him there. We've been friends ever since. But I remember, like, I was on my own there, shopping my music around, just trying to
Yeah.
chat to people. But they had their camps, like they were with their crews. And I thought, yeah, that's what we don't. We're always solo. We're always kind of wandering out there by ourselves. And it would be, I mean, I would say now that I certainly have support from all of those people I've met and all of those people
Yes.
I've worked with, whether it's,
Yes.
all of my UK cats, Bugs in the Attic, like all of those guys, we're all like, Opalopo, whatever, we're all connected forever. And I can always come to them, and we know that. But like, it would be nice also to have a bit of that here too, and just a whole world collective of it,
Well,
it's sort
this
of,
is why. Sorry to cut you off. I'm so
it's
sorry. Go
okay.
ahead. Go ahead.
No, I
Go
was
ahead.
just gonna say, it would, like, I think that's what's missing, we just here we're just, I don't know what's happening here, but I definitely know that we are so small that there is also this ideology of there ain't enough for everybody. So, we're not always quick to collaborate and share and connect, whereas there, it's just not that at all. It's just
No.
not that at all. So I think there's a few things at play.
I wanted to say this is why I really, when we were organizing this, myself and Natalie, um, she was willing to hear me out. I said, let's start talking to different people. So anyone who feels that they want to enter or develop in a genre, they can actually see it reflected in discussion and know
Yes.
like, okay, I have an idea of where I'm headed. And for anyone who has not worked with anyone in underground house dance music, that they can see the possibility of like an expansion instead of just looking at it one way and genre specific. So
That's right.
this is exciting to have you on the panel to flush out these subjects.
Yes. Yeah, I'm happy to help with that. And I also want to add too that sometimes if you yourself have created, let's say, a banging track,
Mhm.
and you get it in one person's hand, and that hand then gives it to another person's hand, and that is the beginning of your career, because that's the beginning of everybody asking, can I work with you?
Yes, yeah,
It's happened to me. I had a track that went, I worked with a producer from here, a wonderful. I don't have a lot of producers I work for from here, but he's one of them, Nick Holder, and he's a legend in the city for house
yeah.
music.
Nick, I know Nick. Yeah, yeah.
Right? He's a
Like
legend.
Nick is amazing. Like he's really good at
Amazing.
working with different kinds of people.
Totally.
Shout out to Nick Holder.
Yes, shout out. I love you, Nick. You know this.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and we did a track called Time together, and that made it on I think BBC One Extra. And then that was like all kinds of people were coming to me. And it was a
Yeah,
mix. It was a house mix with broken track. So the
yeah,
house heads liked it and the broken people liked it, and they were like, hey, I think she can do more of this and that. And a lot of people came at me from that. It's like people also need to be encouraged about, like, just write, just create, and get it out there. Put it on your
yeah.
Spotify, put it on your Bandcamp. Follow the people. My brother taught me this one: follow the people that you admire on Bandcamp, because they want to hear from you. That's what my brother
Yes.
told me. My brother's a legendary DJ in Toronto. Shout out Dave Campbell.
I didn't
um,
know Dave Campbell was your brother.
that's my big bro.
I've seen him before at the ROM.
No, oh
Because
yeah.
I bartend. I'm telling a lot of people here at the meadow, but so I ended up approaching him at the ROM, like, oh, you're Dave Campbell. Like I really,
No, that
yeah.
is amazing.
Yeah, well, hello to Dave Campbell. I didn't know he was your brother.
That's my bro. That's my big
That's so
bro.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
big inspiration for me. Big
Toronto's so
inspiration.
small.
So small,
Yeah,
isn't it though? So small, we're related. you know? Um, yeah, and so I want people to be encouraged with that too, and like, just create, put it out there. It'll get in the right hands if you believe enough in it, and
right.
never stop creating either, because there's so much more to come too. Sometimes you get discouraged because you're just like, but nothing's happening for me, whatever. Just
Yes,
create,
yes,
just
yes,
create, and just put it out there. I think we're timid as Canadians. We're a little bit more timid of exposure and putting ourselves, me included. I have been that in the past too. So, but we need to just put ourselves out there, get that together, and the rest will follow.
right.
And you do want the world. You don't want just Canada. You want
Yeah,
the world.
yeah, yeah.
You'll always be Canadian, but you want the world, and the
That's
world
true.
will watch your Canadian creativity flourish.
That's true.
Yeah,
True. That's
yeah.
true. Um, so I wanted to ask you about your musical influences. Who did you
Hmm.
listen to growing up? What kind of music did you like? What were you into? Anything that influenced your music or your songwriting?
Yeah, I definitely was listening to like Motown growing up, putting on vinyl that my parents had, listening to that a lot. And I definitely grew up with, Caribbean music a lot. And I was thinking to myself, did Caribbean music ever influence what I wrote? And I thought, no. And then I had to think again, because when I think about some, a couple broken beat tracks that I've written, they are so like Caribbean influence, just in the way and how I approach, my lyrics.
Mhm.
That's definitely where that comes from. And Broken Beat itself has that. A lot of the cats that were involved in creating it are Caribbean English cats.
Yeah,
So that's all in there. All of that's in there. The reggae and mixed with the jazz and all of that. So, and the drum and bass. you know. So yeah, I definitely could hear some of those influences there. I would say for sure soul. I mean, I love singers like Donny Hathaway. I love Leon Ware. I love listening to 70s. I have a passion for 70s black vocalists. They just sound like angels to me. So
Yeah.
groups like Aquarian Dream, artists like Jean Carn, and who else would I say? Sylvia St. James, and so very underground kind of brilliant singers. I love harmonies, and they always had these extraordinary harmonies in the backgrounds
Right.
of their tracks. So that's a big influence for me for sure. But then I would say later on it would have been, definitely Jill Scott, definitely, some Erica Badu, definitely. But then I go back and then I'll be like, when Shaka Khan,
Mm.
and yeah, and also I listen to a lot of like, like, Eddie Harris, like black spiritual jazz. I love listening to sort of like more experimental jazz as well. And I think for me, it was instrumentalists that I was really into before I was into vocalists when it came to the jazz thing. But yeah, Nina Simone's huge for me. She's a huge
I love
influence.
Nina Simone.
Huge. Yeah. She's just everything. Yeah, and so I would say that, that's a few of my influences, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So to tie up our conversation, um, I want to ask you, especially as an educator, it's like you're in both worlds. You're an educator, but you're also a performer.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you, what is it that you would like to see for Black music in Canada in the
Hmm.
future, or now and moving forward to the future?
I would like to see uh I would like to see Black music being, respected when it comes to, award ceremonies. I would like to see Black music labels that are as big as Sony itself. I would like to see us really having an infrastructure for our music and supporting our artists, because I think sometimes we get filtered down in a system that doesn't necessarily want the true essence of us, but often maybe a watered down version of us, or something more palatable for a wider audience. And I don't think we need to be that. I think we need to be true to who we are, as brilliant creators. And I would like to see an infrastructure that supports that, regardless of the genre that we're doing. So I'd like to see our own labels. I'd like to see, and like, with money backing, I'd like to see our own radio stations, and with money backing us up. And I think if that could happen, it would be a very different scene. I think we'd see less of us fleeing,
Yeah.
and more of us, celebrating and creating here.
Right. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Well, I hope that the conversation we're having today will be a catalyst for change, because anyone who watches it can at least understand another avenue and actually see other artists like yourself. So this is wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's been
Uh,
an awesome interview. And really, I have just, you've asked me questions that no one's asked me. So that has been really cool too, just to be able to, you know, voice some of these things as well. So thank you. Thank you.
no, S.A.C was so excited to have you. So with that being said, we have a performance from you. Okay.
Yes.
So I would like to introduce today Sasha Williamson from Toronto. She will be singing a track titled Lovers.
Can you hear me? We both came here for a reason. We both got nothing to lose. We both dropped our inhibitions. We both got nothing to prove. But as the night gets lighter and the moon begins to fade, I feel you're getting closer, getting hard to break away. Nothing here but pleasure. I did it for the thrill, but I got a confession. I'll show you my position. I wanna be your girl. I just want to be your lover. Don't wanna be your only. Maybe you could find another. Oh, we could be lovers. We could be lovers. Oh, we could be lovers. We could be lovers. Oh, we could be lovers. We could be lovers. Oh, we could be lovers. We could be lovers. Oh, we could be lovers. Ooh. Oh, lovers. There's no need for confrontation. No emotions here to explain. Say that you wanna drop my inhibitions. I say it's better this way. No need for exposure. You're my experiment. I'm too curious. It's like my bad habit. We can't go no further and change reality. I showed you my position. I showed you my position. Don't wanna be your girl. I just want to be your lover. Don't wanna be your only. Maybe you could find another. Oh, we could be lovers. We could be lovers. Oh, we could be lovers. We could be lovers, lovers. Oh, we could be lovers. We could be lovers. Oh, we could be lovers. We could be lovers. We could be lovers. You and me. We could be. Oh, you and me. Oh, we could be, you and me. We could be, you and me, you and me, you and me. You and me, yeah, yeah. We could be lovers, lovers. Oh, we could be lovers, 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 lovers.
Nice. That was so nice. Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So before we end, where can everyone find you online?
So I have to update this, but I am on SoundCloud.
Okay.
I am.
Okay, wonderful.
I have SoundCloud. You can find me on, I think you can find me on Facebook. I have a music page on Facebook. And you can find me on Instagram on Sasha Williamson. That's my IG. You can find music of mine on iTunes, Beatport, and TrackSource.
Okay. Okay.
I'm around.
Do you have a single out right now?
I have a single coming.
Okay. Okay.
I have a single coming. I did this wonderful song with a beautiful producer from London, England. And it's a bit of a broken house kind of song. It's so I love it. I mean, I'm not always one to be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm feeling my own stuff." But I do feel my stuff. You should, right? But I really love this track, and I'm really looking forward to the world hearing it. It's a special one. So
Okay.
that should be coming out on Z Records sometime this year. So, I'll keep you up to date.
All right, wonderful. Well, our conversation's come to a close. I want to thank you for being with us today at S.A.C. This
Thank you,
concludes
S.A.C,
panel.
for having me.
Yeah, we love you.
Woo-hoo.
And stay tuned, everyone. We have one more panel to go next week for Black History Month 2022. Bye, Sasha.
Bye. Thank you.